Caucasian, we're 90% or greater African American, particularly in the city. And so we set up the exchange, and they came down, 11 of them came down 2 years ago. And they came down right about the time for the Christmas concert for the university. So that's what we told them, make sure you come this week instead of next week. And they had a chance to come down and go to the Christmas concert, which was beautiful. And then to go up and join in the choir. So they actually had a chance to go up on the stage and join the choir. But I was telling the group over here, we've had them come back down as many as 4 times in just a 2-year period. Because they said they enjoyed it so here and were comfortable with it. We have someone coming in 2 weeks because we'll have the MLK program. So David and his sister from Florida is coming to be her first time. But we've had some come 3 times. So it's a good exchange. A lot of differences you find is differences within a particular region. What people do or how they live based on what's in their community or who's in their community or their history or culture. So we find we're not very different in a lot of ways, but very similar, but we're used to what happens in our community or in our region and what we're comfortable with. And the key thing is the exchange of information. And then as you exchange information, you get more comfortable as you get to know people in that environment. And that's the thing that we realize more and more. I mentioned that Tuskegee has a lot of unique things about it. You'll find out as you go around and they share things with you. We have the smallest national forest in the United States. And what I realized recently, I think, and I have to double check this, is the last national forest established in the United States. But it's the smallest. So for a community our size, it's a lot of things that come out of Tuskegee that are kind of unique. I was sharing with Mr. Paris the other day that a lot of people don't know that while we have a lot of African American history, we have a lot of Caucasian history, we have a lot of Native American history. Now Huntington College, which is a very prominent college in Montgomery, Alabama, was started right here in Tuskegee, downtown on Main Street. So you not only have Tuskegee University, you have a predominant Caucasian college, very prestigious college in Montgomery, Alabama that started right here. Judson College, which is a military institute over in Perry County, was started here in Marion. It started here in Macon County.
Don't be modest. Tell them about your college too.
Yeah, Southern Community College, a small junior college, community college, was started here in Tuskegee. My father started when he found out that there were not enough jobs for certain jobs for people, and people in certain jobs could not move to the next level because we didn't have a junior college in this area. When Wallace was building it, he put junior colleges and technical colleges in predominant Caucasian communities. African American communities were overlooked. So he was instrumental in helping to establish a college here that was here for 35 years and served the community. Many of you know Florida State University, I'm sure, which has been national champion a lot of years and that type of thing. In the beginning of the game, they ride on the field with a horse. And on that horse, a soldier comes down and throws a spear in the middle of the field. And some of you may have seen it. And when they're yelling, their key thing is, whoa, whoa, whoa. And they're doing the Indian chop, Native American chop. That Indian is Chief Osceola. Chief Osceola came out of Macon County, right on the edge of Tuskegee. He escaped to North Florida. He was here as a Creek Indian, which predominates in this area, Creeks and Cherokees. He escaped Macon County because he didn't want to go the Trail of Tears out west. He had several wives, 2 or 3 wives. One of them was African American. She was going to be put in a slave, and he was afraid of what was going to happen out west. So he escaped to North Florida, and then he became Seminole. There's a county in North Florida named Osceola County. Kissimmee, Florida has statues of Chief Osceola. He is the main mascot for Florida State University, but he came right out of Tuskegee, Macon County. So it's a lot of things that inspire people to do great things here. The university itself was actually started by Lewis Adams. Lewis Adams was a freed slave. He could speak 5 languages because he worked in the big house, and he learned a lot of things working in the house when he was there. So he started teaching other slaves at the time before they were freed. And so when he got freed, he wanted to start a school. Well, while he spoke 5 languages, he only had a 6th grade education. So some people came to him when you had the free slaves, they could vote. And one of the legislators here needed the black vote. He figured to really help him win. So he asked Lewis Adams, look, I can give you some money. I need you to help me get the black vote so I can win in the legislature. But Lewis Adams said, I don't really want any money. I need to get a school to help my people learn. He said, we don't have schools. and we've been freed, and it's not against the law for us to learn, so I want to start a school. So he started a school in the church, and the legislature said, okay, I'll get you $2,000, and I guess dedication on some land. So technically, that's how Tuskegee University started, by a freed slave. Now, what he was smart enough to do, not being selfish, he reached out to Hampton University. He said, I only have a 6th grade education. Yeah, I can teach them some things, but I really need somebody who has a formal education to be a principal of this school and lead this school. So when they called Hampton University, the first guy that was supposed to come, for some reason, the last minute, he couldn't come. The second guy who was supposed to come, he was all packed up and ready to go, and the last minute, he couldn't come. And lo and behold, if you go back and read the story, read up from slavery, you'll find out that Dr. Booker T. Washington was the one who came. Dr. Booker T. Washington walked along with the things that he did. And his story is remarkable. But the thing about it, if you believe in divine intervention, he was the one that was meant to come to Tuskegee. Because that's what made Tuskegee so historical. But when Dr. Booker T. Washington came here, he just said, I've got to do something here. And then he said, what? And then after a while, he said, what have I got myself into? Because he realized the challenge here and what needed to be done. But just like Lewis Adams, what he did was, instead of being selfish, he looked around and said, well, I can run this school, but I got to get the best people I can. So he convinced Dr. George Washington Carver, who's a world-renowned scientist, to stay here rather than go to Iowa. It's either Iowa or Iowa State, where he was going to be paid much more. He came here and he realized what needed to be done, and Dr. Carver stayed here and made all his discoveries here out of Macon County, this part of Alabama. Well, also he reached out to, Dr. Booker T. Washington reached out to Robert R. Taylor, which you'll see up on the campus. Robert R. Taylor was the first black graduate of MIT. He came down and laid out the campus of Tuskegee University. And that's how we got this beautiful historic campus. So again, it was people reaching out to other people with abilities and not being selfish. And so that's how the story has gone in Tuskegee throughout the years. You get people who come here who are inspired. It's just something in the air, something in the on the ground, something in the water. So I tell you to take in a lot of fresh air, because the interest, the inspiration, the creativity of people really expands here. Richard Wright was here at Tuskegee. Zora Neale Hurston comes out of this area, and right over in the Notasulga area. All of you know Lionel Richie and what he did coming to the university. Tom Joyner, for those who know, Tom Joyner is a national radio host, just retired. For all those years he was on the radio, national syndicated radio. All that talent comes out of Tuskegee, and I can name many, many more. But it's something about this area that helps to generate your creative interest. And you'll see it as you go around the community. It's just a feel that you have. And one of the things that some of you may have heard, if you ever hear Lionel Richie, Easy Like Sunday Morning, if you ever walk this campus, this community on a Sunday morning, you know what he was singing about. It's just a feeling. When you walk around here on Sunday morning, you look around this campus, you see these folks, it's a great feeling. I mean, it's a beautiful place on earth. And so that's what we're excited about in Tuskegee. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot to rebuild, because things went down for a number of years. But you'll see one of the prettiest campuses, as I've heard people say, anywhere. One of the prettiest HBCU campuses, one of the prettiest campuses on any campus nationwide is Tuskegee. And they were very, very fortunate, because they got acres and acres established when Booker T. Washington reached out for the land that he needed to set up the agricultural part. And then some people gave land. Even some people, when they passed, gave land, because a lot of African Americans used to own a lot of land. So Tuskegee's grown from there, and we've just been blessed to have a lot of history. You've had as many as 8 presidents come to visit this little community. I don't know many communities where, that are not major cities, that you have 8 presidents come to visit. Michelle Obama came, First Lady came the year before last, and so many other people who come here. As a young man, I got a chance to meet people like Muhammad Ali and shake his hand and talk to him. He showed me the Ali Shuffle and slapped me in the face when I was looking down at his feet. He said, that's why you pay attention. You don't watch the feet, you watch the hand. Because he had me a boxing with him on stage, and I was nervous about doing it. He said, oh, put him up. I know you're an athlete. So I put him in. He said, oh, you pretty good. You block him a shot. Then he started that. And I looked down and slapped him in the face. He said, that's how I win. I get you distracted, and I win. So you meet all kinds of people here because of the university and its history. And it just inspires you, and that's what inspires so many young people who've done things here. And a lot of names are not at the top level, but people constantly do things, and young people in creativity. Many of you know the Super Soaker? Yeah. Okay, that was invented by Johnston, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Johnson. He's a Tuskegee engineering grad. And doing his engineering work, he was out in the yard playing with the kids, and they were beating him to death. So he went and made some adjustments to his little water gun, and next thing you know, he made it pump much faster, and he was wiping his kids out. And then he realized how popular it was, and he got a patent, and he developed a super soaker, which made him plenty of money. Well, what happened on top of that? Mattel took it and did the same thing, but they didn't pay him the rights. He filed a suit, won a multi-million-dollar suit, and he's a multi-millionaire coming out of Tuskegee. But see, that's that creativity. He graduated as an engineer, worked in his field, but it also gave him the idea of what he could do just playing with his kids was something that he wanted to improve, because the creativity was in it. And that's what I mean by you see a lot of things that happen here that just come out of this area that we're very fortunate of. And it has to do with the atmosphere and the people and the encouragement. So we welcome you here. I'm not going to talk a lot. If I run into you anywhere today, you're welcome to ask me any questions. I'll try to answer them. But just like anywhere else, we've had our challenges. It's a major civil rights place where battles were fought. This city was divided up into 28 sides to block out all the black people from voting at one time. And so, you know, they just redrew the lines, took out all the black people except a handful when they knew that we had the right to vote. And eventually that became a precedent case, setting case at the U.S. Supreme Court. It's called Gomillion versus Lightfoot. Dr. Gomillion was a professor on the campus. He got with a group of people that became TCA. And Fred Gray is a well-known civil rights lawyer who worked with Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King. They filed a case and they won. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. So those of you who study constitutional law, the precedent for Colgrove versus Green is Gomillion versus Lightfoot, which comes right out of this little community. Fred Gray's out of this community. It's just so many things and people that come out of here because people are inspired and encouraged to stand up and do. You had a major SNCC chapter, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, came out of this community. Mr. Parrish and his brothers and others were majorly involved in civil rights throughout the Black Belt of Alabama. A lot of things, we elected the first black sheriff in the United States since Reconstruction, came out of Macon County, Lucius Amerson. So a lot of things were inspired out of this community. And I was telling some people, reminding them we have to do because people expect us to do. They expected us to do and to build upon what was already done. And so when we don't, we let down the history and the legacy of what others have given us. We have a responsibility to do. We have a responsibility to build. I was criticized by some, believe it or not, because we reached out to the sister city that asked us to join them with the dominant white. Oh, that's our charge, to reach out to all people, to bridge, you know, gaps and bridges. And the reason they reached out, because they saw all the things that were happening, African-American young men getting killed, battles with the police, they didn't understand it. They're in an isolated community in the north. They wanted to understand it better. And they want their children to interact with people of other cultures. And so it's our responsibility to work with other people, to share our history, learn about your history, learn about our interests, we learn about your interests. Because at some point or another, we're going to all cross paths. And the stronger we make this country when people communicate with each other and share what we want to do. Because everybody has things that they want to do. There's no reason for me to block what you want to do as long as it doesn't interfere with what I want to do. And we can all live in a peaceful, you know, setting and enjoy what we have. We have a great country, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, but we've got to make this country live up to what it said in its Constitution. Because when you do that, you realize what we really have in this country. So I'm finished rapping.
Like daily issues or struggles do you see in Tuskegee? Like what's your biggest, as mayor, what do you see?
Here we're rebuilding because what happened was a lot of people after a period of time moved out of Tuskegee. And so we're trying to bring people back into the community, bring more jobs. A lot of university people moved back, so we're kind of rebuilding this community, and that's our biggest struggle. One of the key things is confidence. Because it went down for so long, when people lose hope, they take off and they leave, and young people don't stay. So now we have an interest in young people wanting to come back in and contribute. But for a long while we had an exodus. And so my biggest challenge has been helping to people who are doing things to be successful so other people can see it and then come back. For instance, we have a young man, Von Tarver, who opened up a business and to work with his father, he took it over. It's called the Yellow Store. You ask anybody in this whole area, not just in Tuskegee, people go to the Yellow Store for breakfast and lunch, and on Sunday the lines are all around the store on the outside. Then he opened up a new business, C&K Wings, downtown, where a lot of the businesses were closed. Very, very popular. Now he's opening a meat store. This is a young man. See, when people see that, they say, oh, I can do this, I can open a business. We just reopened up, we opened up the first Popeyes here at an exit that was blank. There's nothing out there. We're building a travel center out there. They'll have a huddle house, 20 pump service station, a huge convenience store, pizza place, TCBY yogurt, and a new Greyhound bus station, along with a chicken place. And a Shoney's is coming in, a new hotel. That shows people that things are growing. When people see things growing, they come back in the community, they get involved. And it shows opportunity for young people. So a lot of our people are seniors now. There's a lot of young people left. And the key is to get young people back here with ideas and energy and things that they like and help develop them, even entertainment. And so that's the challenge, to keep people in a positive spirit and not let the spirit that got to a point and say, oh, we're not going to do anything, we're not going to be able to make it happen. I was shocked, even myself, and it was on paper this week that comes out. When we put up that Popeyes, the first thing that had been up that exit been blank for 20, 30 years, I was amazed at how many people were just shocked about it. It was like they couldn't believe that we could do this. You know, it's easy to fall into a thing and think of what we can't do, but we're all encouraged by different ways and different sayings. You can do it, you just have to put your effort to it, and you have to believe. And so the belief became reality. So as that's happening, we're seeing more and more energy coming here, more and more people coming to invest in this community. I hope that answers.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
The biggest challenge is to get over doubt. You know, when you're doing something, a lot of people will doubt it, and that takes away energy. It takes away energy you need to make something go. So it's a matter of keeping up the energy to move forward.
It seems like you're doing it, so that's good.
Working on it, we got a lot of good people that, you know, working with us. And the other key thing, young people on the campus now are doing a lot of things in the community. We had a group that came from out of town, I forget what major conference it was, and they stopped me and said, man, it's really nice when we came to town to see how the town looked. Well, we have a group of young people working with some local citizens that help keep the community clean. Beyond what the workers, city workers do, periodically they go out and clean up, because there's a group of people that just throw trash. But that was clean at that time when this major conference came because of young people in the community who volunteered from the campus. They volunteered to help us. We run a Vital Tax program, which does taxes for people, especially older people in the community and senior citizens and those of low income. They come and work in our office at the Community Development Corporation, do the taxes for free. So we have this activism from young people on the campus, and them learning their history, and now they've latched onto it, and they want to see the community rebuild because they're aware of the history, and they feel the obligation to really bring back what was done and build upon what was done. So that's kind of the biggest thing that's happening right now, and the young people are giving the drive, because as young people do, it encourages other adults to get up and do what we were doing at one time, to get back to what we were doing. The Civil Rights Movement was largely, the energy of the Civil Rights Movement came from the college students. If you went to Greensboro, it was mostly college students involved in it. Birmingham, college students. Selma, college students. John Lewis, who's a congressman right now, was a college student when he marched across the bridge. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was mainly college students. So it's the young people who save things. And I say this to you all now, whatever your belief is, whatever your background is, whatever you believe in this country, it's young people that are going to have to take the stand. The young lady who's criticized about the environment, she is critically on top of what was being done. I forget what, she was a teenager, but she went over to the UN. You understand what has to happen, and it's your future that's involved. See, we can battle it. It's our current situation, but it's your future. Young people have to take the stands because you have the luxury of not being obligated or controlled by anything, a job or other obligation. You have the independence and the liberty. And throughout history, you'll see that young people traditionally made the difference. Once they understand the direction we need to go, and you ask the questions, because you'll need people who have experience to understand some other things. But if you understand that this cup is green, and it needs to be green, and it needs to be disposed of a certain way, then it's up to you to lead the effort to make sure that's happening. Because if not, I can tell you just about a simple issue. Waste will be the biggest challenge of any community. Sewer and waste. It doesn't seem like it, but more people you have, the more waste is generated. That's something that has to be challenged environmentally. How do we handle that? And that takes people being responsible, not ignoring it. So you're in a position to really impact on what goes on. So the more you learn, the more you're involved, the better it becomes. You don't have to be, involved every day, but just being knowledgeable so you can impact whatever occurs. And you can talk to your parents. Parents, believe it or not, listen to young people. And we don't know much about technology.
Just to dovetail on something that the mayor said in reference to college students being involved in activism and all. I remember as a college student, my mom told me, she said, son, this is the freest you're going to ever be in your whole life. It's kind of what the mayor was saying. You got the freedom of not having other responsibilities, families and jobs and other kinds of things that come along as you age a little bit. So now is the time for you to make those choices about what it is that you want to do with your life. And while you are free enough to begin to do those, and then figure out how you can continue that as your life, as you progress through life. So it's a challenge, but you all young folks are up to it. I'm amazed at what young folks come up with these days. We all, us older people, all them young people ain't gonna do nothing, they ain't interested in nothing, blah. Go talk to them. Go talk to them. Find out what they got on their mind. Then you'll change your mind. Or we'll change our mind. And we appreciate you all. And I think this is probably the 30th year that I've hosted a group from Gettysburg. I got involved in this. I was working on campus. The dean, Walter Hill, Dean of Agriculture, met Carl Matson, who was the head of the center at Gettysburg. And they became friends and got to talking and came up with an idea of Gettysburg students coming to the Alabama Back Belt. I was working for the dean at the time, and he said, George, would you arrange a trip for some students from Gettysburg College to come and visit different sites around the Black Belt? Well, if you work at a university, first thing you learn is you don't say no to the dean. So I said, yes, of course, I'd be glad to. So we did a lot of different things. We've been all the way from Columbus, Georgia, on the east side of the Black Belt, all the way across to Meridian, Mississippi, which is on the western side. All those counties in the central part of Alabama. I'm going to get some maps a little bit later and share that, let you take a look at where you are and where those counties are. Most of these counties predominantly black, with the exception of Montgomery County and Marengo County. In the 60s, when blacks started to gain the right to vote and exercise the right to vote, most of those counties elected black officials. Prior to that, we went as college students affiliated with SNCC that the mayor mentioned. But we had our own organization here at Tuskegee students, Tuskegee Institute Advancement League, TAL it was called. And we were recruited to go to Lowndes County, which we're going to pass through Sunday. And you're going to spend some time there Tuesday on the schedule in Lowndes County. Dirty Lowndes is called. Lowndes, I guess at that time, was the stronghold of the plantation system. Ku Klux Klan, those kind of things. There wasn't a black person in that county that was registered to vote. This was in 1964. So SNCC, TAL, SCSC, and a lot of other civil rights organizations went to work there. And by 1966, we had a majority black voter population, but they had never voted prior to that time. Now, in Alabama, the Democratic Party was the predominant party. Not so anymore. There was virtually no Republican Party to speak of in Alabama. That's another story that I get to later. But the point I wanted to make was that in 1966, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Tile and others, ran a slate of candidates for elective office. And the Democratic Party in Alabama at that time had an emblem, a white rooster. Also had a slogan, white supremacy for the right. So we in good conscience could not ask our folks to support that party. And like I said earlier, there was no Republican Party. So we got together and decided we're going to create our own Republican Party. So what was created that you may have heard of later was the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party started in Lowndes County, Alabama as a political party, not as a violent, as the American press painted it later on from Oakland, Chicago, and other places. But it started out as a political party in Alabama. Tuskegee students went to Oakland to help organize the Black Panther Party in Oakland. So that's part of the history, or part of the story that we don't tell all the time. Because at first, it was dangerous to talk about that. I know the name of the students who went, and I'll share that with some of you. Alphonse Atkinson used to be the dean of the School of Veterinary Medicine.
Yeah.
He was one.
Yeah.
I think Eldridge Burns was the second, and Kathleen Cleveland was the third one. Okay, all of those were students in Tile who went to Oakland to help organize the Black Panther Party. So I guess that's enough preaching from me.
You talk about Lowndes County and what happened there. At one time, Lowndes County was listed as the poorest county in the nation.
That's right, yeah.
The poorest in the nation. See, because when you control people that long and all of it became free, you did everything to block them out and gave them no economic ability to take care of themselves. So for a long time, it's the poorest. It's probably not at the very bottom now, but it's still facing significant challenges because of what had happened in Lowndes County. And I think, you know, where Val Louisa was killed? On the 7th.
And more recently, the sheriff was killed.
Yeah, the sheriff was killed there. And it's going to be interesting when it comes out of there because he was killed by a young Caucasian young man. And
About a month ago.
And
Black sheriff.
And he was shot in the face. The guy was blasting music, and then so what becomes interesting, they said, which I didn't know until the trial started, that he had pulled a gun on somebody else recently before he shot the sheriff. And it's so unfortunate because you're talking about an 18, 19-year-old young man, and he shot a sheriff. The sheriff in the state of Alabama is the highest ranking official anywhere. When they had Sheriff Williams, who was a very well-liked sheriff throughout the state, they had cars from all over. They had people who came from other states to support it. It took them hours just to get from the state capitol down there to back over in Lowndes County where they went to bury him after they had his. But been a very, very sensitive situation in Lowndes County over the years. Val Louisa came down from the north to march with the civil in the 7 Montgomery March. She was killed along that trail. So it's been a challenge. We've made some significant progress, but it's some bitter things that happened back then. It was a very dangerous situation, but a lot of us have grown. There's still some things that hang over. We still got a lot to do, but we've grown in this state. We still got a long ways to go. The situation when you had Roy Moore, for instance, recently, the one against the U.S. Constitution, had to be taken out of office. He was Chief Justice of the state of Alabama. He had to be taken out of office because he didn't want to respect the Constitution. So we've still got some major challenges in this state, but we made a lot of progress. And so as we interact with people more and share and keep moving forward regardless of the obstacles, I think that we'll make a lot of progress. And we can set the example for the nation. And I think that's why the people from South Bird came here. Because so many things that have come from out of this region, they set the example for the nation. John Lewis marched out of here and went on to become a U.S. congressman, been one of the most powerful congressmen in terms of doing progressive things in the nation. So we're just glad to have that history that we try to share. And you see, it's key to share so people understand and try to answer questions about why did something happen. Like I learned today, I know the Black Panther organization started at Lowndes County. I knew about the National Democratic Party of Alabama, which became the NDPA, which was formed to have our own party so we could get some people elected, because they wouldn't even put certain blacks on the Democratic ballot.
Yeah.
They had to form their own party, NDPA, and it was like a third party, and it was shocked them when it was successful. I think we elected a probate judge down there, Judge Green, in Greene County, probate judge Branch. Judge Branch. In Greene
Branch
County.
and Gilmore was elected chair.
Yeah, and there was a National Democratic Party. Alabama was a third party. Third parties can't hardly be effective. But back then, people came together to do what was necessary. And again, it was young people. So it's Mr. Parrish reminded us, you have the greatest possibility to have impact on anything right now. And so just whatever your energy is, your creativity, your mindset, your passion, make sure you push it. Because as you get further along, you're gonna have other responsibilities, other things that take up your time, families, jobs, other obligations. But you still want to, children, yeah. You really want to push your passion because that impacts the world. Whatever you do at this age, you'd be surprised in the next 10 years what you do will have the greatest impact upon the world and your future.
Somebody's going to Kenya next week. That's right. He's going to
I'm
Kenya.
studying abroad in Kenya, maybe 25th.
Oh, good. Congratulations. Hope you have a good trip.
Thank you.
Be a little jealous.